Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica. Damn it, the date is finally here. If you know me and you know the channel, you know I love a few things in particular, and I always get excited to talk about them. That is the 3DO as well as Killing Time. Absolutely one of my favorite games of all time. But I will readily admit the 3DO version has a frame rate that seems seconds per frame, not frames per second sometimes. And even though I will always advocate for people to have this experience, because I think it is one of the most revolutionary for its time first-person shooters ever, that really actually influenced the industry and where it was going to go. I totally get that sometimes you don't want a slideshow. Well, the good news is, as of this morning, Nightdive Studios updated the Killing Time remaster, at least on Steam, that's where I played this, and now the entirety of the 3DO map is in the remaster with a perfect frame rate, widescreen support, and everything you want out of a game that I am constantly trying to convince people to play. Honestly, 3DO is having a massive resurgence in 2026, and I am 100% here for it, because I'm pretty sure soon you're going to see different channels talking about the fact that they quote-unquote discovered that the 3DO is actually good. Just remember, your buddy Video Game Esoterica for the last 7 years has been yelling at the clouds, trying to convince you that the 3DO has a lot to love, and now it has even more to love even if it's not on 3DO, because Killing Time, at least the 3DO maps, are now 100% perfect, and I could not be happier. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But if you had asked me earlier in this year what one gift I wanted as far as retro gaming was concerned, I would have answered the release of the 3DO core for Mr. FPGA, and all of the comparative footage you're going to be watching in this video was captured on the most recent core update from SRG 320, basically giving us a perfect 3DO experience in almost every single game. Secondarily, if you ask what else I would want, a stocking stuffer as it were, it was for Nightdive to release the 3DO maps for the Killing Time remaster, and I don't know how suddenly, after years and years of 3DO being completely forgotten, it is the year of 3DO. And that makes me an incredibly happy person, but I 100% admit I am biased. But damn it, this is the stuff I've lived for, and I am just so excited to be able to actually play this game for the first time and for like the 50th time all at the same time. And I totally get it, nostalgia is absolutely a powerful drug when it comes to video games. This game just hit for me at a certain point in time in life when I was a kid. I was absolutely enamored with it. And as I move back over to the Mr. FPGA core, you can see the night and day difference. But even when this was new, this was absolutely an amazing game in my opinion, and if this thing actually ran at a better frame rate, I think you would have a lot of people talking about how it was one of the best first-person shooters of the 90s, because this thing was a seamless one-map experience. There were no floating zones, it was one gigantic open world that you could explore, and with the overall ephemeral storytelling in here with all of the ghosts, it really kind of feels like the precursor to stuff like BioShock we would get later, with the storytelling being within the world, especially with the overall Art Deco design. And so many of the textures were amazing back on the 3DO, but of course they were pixelated because the 3DO wasn't exactly the most powerful system in the world. But now we can see the entirety of the art from the 3DO version in high definition, and even though I love the vibe of the 3DO, you really can't dispute the fact that the frame rate is absolutely atrocious at certain spots and can affect the overall aiming in the game. Trying to off these chefs here, it's something I have done 100 times and I am used to it, but people give up on this game when I recommend it to them or when they discover it themselves, just because the game absolutely can chug and basically choke on its own frames. Because this was a custom engine written in-house by 3DO called the Zombie Xanadu engine, which was the original title for 3DO, and while it was impressive, it's just one of those things that couldn't quite keep up with what the developers' ambitions were. But moving back over to the Nightdive remaster and the new maps, now you can absolutely see that this game excels. The only thing I wish you could turn down a little bit is the overall lighting. You have that basically vanishing point off the blank in the 3DO version, where here the black is definitely pushed back a little more so you can see more of the arena, but maybe it loses like 1% of the charm. But that is totally fine with me. I love this game and I am so happy I can play it this way now. Let's go into the first what's probably going to be 3 soundtrack samples. I'm going to make you listen and watch a lot, and I'll be right back with more. I mean, honestly, the music in Killing Time from start to finish is absolute perfection, and I always love hearing it, whether it's from the 3DO version or the Nightdive remaster. But the nice thing is, as well, you're just going to be able to more appreciate the story, because a lot of what this is, the storytelling is done in full FMV that is excellently integrated into the world. And the best part is, unlike a lot of other games from this era, they actually went out and got Broadway, or at least off-Broadway, theater actors to do all of this scene. So I'm not saying it's any sort of Academy Award-winning level of acting. I am saying that for the era, it's absolutely great, and honestly, even 10-15 years later, you still had worse FMV in games. You could tell the developers at 3DO were really trying to make a special experience here, and it's one of those things. I've always appreciated this game for what it does, and in some weird way, even though I didn't think about it when I actually started college, I absolutely just kind of kept that Art Deco aesthetic in the back of my head, and basically every elective I took in art school had something to do with Art Deco or Art Nouveau, whether it was designed objects, posters from the era, or just the overall architecture of it. I'm not saying Killing Time basically informed half of my college experience, but it's one of those things. I don't think I even knew what Art Deco was when I first played this game, but the graphics absolutely excel having that Deco styling to them. And you'll see here the exact same cutscene. Nightdive absolutely have some sort of magic formula when it comes to remastering games and making them look as good as humanly possible, because I never would have thought all of these FMV sequences could be upscaled and cleaned up this well, but that's exactly what you get in a Nightdive remaster. And the other thing is, no one even expected them ever to actually add the 3DO maps. This is just a love letter to the game, and this is why I love Nightdive as a developer, because they just go the extra mile, the extra country mile in fact, to give you things that you didn't even think you needed. Because this game came out a while ago, they've probably done all of their sales off of it, but they just basically want to make things as good as humanly possible because they know the fans of these games deserve it and they want to experience it. So honestly, every single thing Nightdive touches, in my opinion, has turned to absolute platinum, not gold, and it really makes me happy to see. And as we move back over to the 3DO version again, this is a vibe, and I still love this game and may still love it even more just because it has that nostalgic tinge to it that the new version does not, because it just came out today. But it's one of those things again, I understand that not many people are actually going to want to play this version, but it is just such a charming, unique, and fun game, and I really on the channel talk about games that I want more people to experience, because it makes me happy every single time I give you guys a recommendation for somebody to come back and say, you know what, that was actually a shit ton of fun, and I am stoked I got a chance to play it. And even though it might be hard to convince a lot of people to actually play Killing Time on 3DO, it's a lot easier to make them play it on Steam. Let's do another soundtrack sample, because again, the music in this game, top notch, and I'll be right back with a lot more hype, probably just for myself. The reality of the situation is, and I mean this half as a joke but half as a real statement, we so rarely actually get exactly what it is we want in life unless you're absolutely lucky. And I don't mean our friends, our families, or our jobs. I just mean the things that we don't need but we would love to have. Because I get so many comments on the channel, people saying my dream game remaster, my dream game recomp or PC port would be, and people mention a game that's extremely important to them. And the reality of the situation is 99 out of 100 of those games aren't going to suddenly see a resurgence or a sequel or a PC port or a remaster. They will remain as their original version that makes somebody incredibly happy, but that's about as far as it's going to go. But something like Killing Time, the 3DO maps being remastered on PC, that is absolutely something I would have never thought could happen 2 years ago, but here I am playing it. So much so that I actually added some art into the game, gave the developer some resources and information, and Killing Time, the remaster, is my one and only video game credit, and I am totally fine with that. And as we move back over to the 3DO map, seeing some of these spaces better fully realized with a lot more depth and a lot more frames just kind of make things even better. because there's a very interesting level design here in its own engine back in the 3DO version, but it basically fought you in some ways to actually be able to enjoy the game, because developers at 3DO basically just threw almost every single enemy they could in every single area. I kind of feel like they should have maybe removed half of them, but that would have lessened the impact of the game, so they went with more enemies and more action versus more frames, and I get why they made that choice. But now we just don't have to deal with one or the other. You don't need to ask for more enemies with less frames, because now you can run this thing basically whatever frame rate you want, because you don't have to have a very powerful PC to pull this one off at all. And that again just makes me incredibly happy, and even though I know not a lot of people are going to play this version again, the fact that somebody could is good enough for me. But do Uncle VGE a favor, and if this even remotely seems interesting, go pick it up, because Nightdive has definitely either already remastered something that you love, or they will be doing it shortly. Stuff like this is why retro gaming is making a comeback, a classic boomer shooter in 2026 with a full 3DO aesthetic. But one more soundtrack sample, because if you're watching this long, you'll definitely hang with me, and I'll be right back with just a little bit more info. Killing Time, which is absolutely a vibe, and I'm 100% there for it. And the nice thing is, even though I love the other version, the remaster based on the PC levels as well, is that every single enemy and every single weapon on the 3DO version is only going to be from the 3DO version, because on the PC port that we got back in 2025, that would have both the enemies from the PC version and the 3DO version, because they had a complete redo on PC and they made them sprites, not these FMV videos. So actually having the 3DO version, which you see here, all the enemies in the Nightdive remaster, nothing more and nothing less, and not a recombination, really gets about as close to the 3DO aesthetic as you can possibly get. And again, I did not expect this whatsoever, especially on a Friday before Easter. I have so much food to buy and make before we have like 16 people coming over to our brand new house, but I took the time out of my morning when I should be basically cleaning up at least one of the rooms here. Don't tell Mrs. Esoterica that. And I had to make this video because, again, these are the type of moments, at least in your gaming life, that don't happen all that often. One of your favorite games of all time not only getting a remaster in 2025, but then getting a secondary remaster to the 3DO version in 2026. So it is one hell of a special day here in the Video Game Esoterica offices, where we employ all of one person, me, to tell you about fun games. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.